This is Eagle Owl, and today we're going to talk about Howie Roseman addressing all the rumors. Also, Michael Carter going to play a little safety. We're going to talk about that. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and talk about Nolan Smith. He's back. But let's get straight into it. The trade deadline is officially over. And guess what, folks? Breaking news or shocker. A.J. Brown is still an Eagle. So all that trade talk, all those articles Diana Rossini was writing was all bullshit. And actually, Howie Roseman addressed it. And let me play this clip.
Offers for him.
Well, would really like to keep this about the guys we acquired, but Tim, I think that when you're trying to be a great team, it's hard to trade great players. And A.J. Brown's a great player. He wears the C for a reason. He's an important part of this team, of this organization. He cares about winning. He cares about his teammates. And, I think that when you're a team like ours that is looking forward to an opportunity to compete for a championship, you just don't get rid of the guys like that. And so feel very lucky to have him on our team and excited about the second half of the season with him.
Look, man, he's a key piece. Hate him or love him. I told y'all, I love A.J. Brown, but I can't front. He has been an annoyance this year. This dude is it. He's a beast. He adds to this team. He makes this team better. Why would you make a move to make your team worse with no backup plan? So A.J. Brown's here to stay. And also just a little sidebar or side note. Jaelan Phillips, he will wear number 50. He announced it. I like the number on him. It will look good on him. But back to Howie Roseman. So Howie Roseman literally addressed it all. And he also talked about the Myles Garrett, the Micah Parsons thing. And let me go in and play that clip.
Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, who you both you were reportedly interested in trading for each of those guys. Michael Parsons, of course, before the season began.
Are you trying to get me fined by speaking of players on other teams? Is that your goal here, Jimmy?
Well,
I can see that being your goal.
The players aside, it does seem like you were willing to, make a big swing and trade multiple future first-round picks. Whether it's for those players or anyone else. What makes you comfortable, trading away those kinds of draft assets?
I feel like when there's opportunities to be aggressive for the right players, we're not going to sit on our hands. I don't think that you have great success without taking great risks at times. They got to make sense in terms of the risks that you're taking. And so, we can't be afraid to fail. I think for a lot of times, for you to get to the top, that you got to be willing to take chances that, may look controversial at times. And so if there was an opportunity to do that, that we thought gave us also an opportunity to be the last team standing, put confetti on our head, we're going to go aggressive in that direction. I feel like that's the right way to operate our team. And that doesn't come without mistakes. I understand that. But, I won't live with regret. I won't live with regret in the way that we operate around here. And so if we feel passionate about something, if we think the value's right, we're not going to be afraid to pull the trigger.
So he said a lot without being fine. He's like, look, basically, if there's a guy out there we want, we're going to be aggressive. Think about this, right? If Quinyon was hurt for whatever reason, you don't think we would have reached out to the Jets and tried to get him something for Sauce Gardner? Shit. Yes, Sauce Gardner would be a Philadelphia Eagle, and Quinyon had to deal with some injury, knock on wood. Like, we had to deal with a devastating injury. You really think one of those top tier corners wouldn't have been ours? They would have been a Philadelphia Eagle. So it's good we have a GM who's always trying to be aggressive. He's always trying to be aggressive. He also talked about Jair Alexander. Like, why did you go get Jair Alexander? And basically, he said something in the matter of like, man, when he signed with the Baltimore Ravens, I thought it was a great signing. Basically saying he probably wanted him first, but then realized Baltimore's not using him. Let's bring him here. And he had a relationship with Christian Parker. So it all made sense. And I said this in one of my previous videos too, that the relationships really mattered. Like even with Michael Carter. Michael Carter. He talked about him a bit, and he said the relationship with Joe Douglas and Joe Douglas getting to speak with him here and there. But this was interesting for us to position and what he'll be doing on this team. And let me go play this clip.
So that gives you flexibility there. Incredibly sharp guy. Joe Casper coached him at Duke. He could play safety, which is really important. I think that, we've always had that piece of a guy who could play nickel and also come into the game and play safety. Last year we had that with Avante. And so it gives that flexibility. Obviously, Coop, incredible player and somebody who can play really anywhere in the secondary. So it gives you those matchups.
So it sounded like he wanted a versatile guy. And remember, we cut or we put Marcus Epps on IR. So we put Marcus Epps on IR. And I thought it was interesting because I'm like, okay, we already thin that safety, but Michael Carter can be outside corner, definitely inside corner, and he also got some safety in him. And he also mentioned Avante Mattis too. So he's probably going to play the Avante Mattis role. And I was saying that too. The depth here is really good. Like, even if Jair Alexander is not Jair Alexander, let's say Adoree Jackson is our best bet, you don't have a drop off. You might have an upgrade backing up Adoree Jackson and Jair Alexander. And whereas though, if Cooper DeJean got to come out a player too, you okay with Michael Carter coming in, doing what he had to do. So I like the depth, even though it sounds like Michael Carter's not going to start for whatever reason, but the depth is there as the backup. So you got to appreciate that. You got to love that as a pickup. Also, Jalen Phillips. He said, this is probably one of the rare, easiest conversations I had with Vic Fangio about Jalen Phillips because, he was a project of Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio got him to play his best. So Jalen Phillips was always going to be an Eagle for sure if he was available because we know Vic Fangio loved him. We know Miami is a dumpster fire. So it's good to see Jalen Phillips in Philadelphia. And we got him for really good value. It could be a win-win. Like if Miami used that third right, they could win. And if Jalen Phillips played to a high level, the Eagles can win. So I like it. I like this trade more and more and more and more that I see it. But again, man, how we just addressed everything to the trades, to trying to get Myles Garrett, to trying to get Micah Parsons. Again, he can't talk about it publicly, but he basically alluded to, yeah, I tried. I tried to get those guys. But, the teams are stupid. I'm sorry to use that word, but teams are just stupid. Like 3 first rounders for Myles Garrett, you can flip that organization. 3, even if they late, 3, teams are idiots. I get the Micah Parsons thing. You don't want him going into the division and possibly winning the Super Bowl and rubbing it in your face. I get that. But Myles Garrett, AFC team, you don't have to deal with the Eagles. The Eagles don't have to deal with you. Could have been a win-win situation. You get all that money off the books. Then we figure it out with Myles Garrett and the money stuff. Browns are the Browns, man. Browns are the Browns. I'm sorry. Myles Garrett might be the best NFL player, but because of the position he play, he's not going to do shit for the Browns. But imagine him with the Eagles. Man, and you probably could have fleeced us out of one of our young guys. Y'all wanted Jordan Davis. If y'all wanted Nolan Smith, hell, we probably would have been willing to give up Jalen Carter if it really came down to it. The Browns going to be the Browns, man. They're going to be the Browns. All right, so let's get into the last topic. Really short video. We're going to talk about Nolan Smith. So Nolan Smith, practice window officially open. He is back. Love to see it. Patrick Johnson, unfortunately, released. I think we signed Terrence Marshall Jr. to the practice squad. So it's 52 spots, and Jacorian Bennett was not elevated yet. So the Eagles might make another move. Somebody might get cut. Can't get traded. Trade deadline is over. So somebody else might get cut. I'm not sure who it'd be just yet. To the trades, to the possible trades. Also, Michael Carter being that Swiss Army knife. And Nolan Smith being back. Love to see it. I love to see it. Nolan Smith, Jalen Phillips, and this is Eagle Owl, man. I'm out.